Ladies and gentlemen, the Incredible Hoax!
Hello, everyone. Another edition of The Incredible Hoax, as you see. Yes. I am Mark, and he is Chris.
And together we are the Incredible Hoax.
Brace yourselves. It's a movie talk show. Sometimes we have tangents. Sometimes we have rants. Sometimes we
take on social issues.
Sometimes
we take on the dirty commies.
Yeah.
The justice. We take on the Legion of Doom. Sometimes just whatever evil may befall us.
And sometimes we piss off everybody in Antarctica for whatever reason. I mean, we just really just
our numbers are really low there.
Nobody. Yeah, that's weird.
We're a hit everywhere but there.
You know. Nothing's safe, you know. That's our point. Nothing is safe.
Yeah.
You can't go all the way to South Pole and escape us.
Yeah. If you watched last week's episode, you're a big Jane Fonda fan. Sorry. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not sorry, but no.
Okay, well.
Now we started this episode.
Yeah, that was really. Well, I want to start today off with.
Yes.
Old business and then some new business. Old business.
All right, call to order.
Yes.
Old business.
Thank you. Call order. Apparently someone's watching our show.
Oh, yeah?
Because we keep giving these ideas to Warner Brothers. And now we went, you folks, you watch, you know that it was 3 episodes ago, roughly, okay. I had mentioned that Anne Hathaway would be, for this Superman reboot, would be an excellent choice for Lois Lane. That's and right. Then lo and behold, last Thursday, I think it was announced, that Anne Hathaway had got the coveted role of Catwoman in the next Dark Man Rises movie. Yeah. Well, that's interesting for a couple of reasons. One, Christopher Nolan is also the creative consultant and executive producer for the Superman reboot.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know, you
might have.
I may be onto something.
I think Christopher Nolan is a fan. I mean,
of the show, yeah.
Oh yeah, he's emailed me.
All right, I think he asked us. I think he asked us what we thought the ending of Inception meant. You know, that's how big a fan he is. Like, well, hey, let's pull up a chair.
Even he wasn't sure. He needed us to clarify.
Yeah, exactly. That's how great a fan he is of the show.
That's right. but really, you did say she should be Lois Lane.
Yeah.
He is producing both movies.
Right. And
lo and behold, Anne Hathaway is going to be Catwoman.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't think it's too far of a stretch of imagination to say you're solely responsible for that.
I'm just saying, you know.
All right, well, let's talk about, are you going somewhere different than this?
About to, yeah.
Well, let me just say this one thing.
Sure.
You thought she'd be great for Lois Lane. I was kind of like, I'm not feeling it. How about for Catwoman? What are you feeling there? Anne Hathaway. Catwoman.
I think when you think about the women that he's cast in Batman, this reboot makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
You know, I know some people are probably like the Princess. Was it Princess Diaries?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? They're thinking of her in that context, you know, which is, you know, they're really selling her short if they do.
But she's long gone from those roles.
Yeah, I mean, my God, she's in Brokeback Mountain and The Devil Wears Prada, for example. So she's certainly been doing a lot of mature roles. So
she's done a lot of edgy stuff.
Yeah, give her a chance, folks.
I think if he plays it more goth type, she'll be perfect. I can't see her pulling off the sexy Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. I just don't see that happening. But I don't think he's going to go that way anyway.
No.
I don't see Nolan doing that.
No.
I see him going more like, well, just like he did with Heath Ledger, he went with this edgy, psycho, you know, punk, weird thing. And it's brilliant. It works brilliantly. Mm-hmm. So, there's all kinds of avenues you can go with Catwoman. So, I trust the dude. So,
yeah.
If anybody's going to pull it off, I mean, he's the guy.
Yeah. And it'll probably be one of those things where, you know, she's kind of like the rebound girl. Because, you know, of course, the character of Rachel dies in Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Hopefully I didn't just spoil that for everybody.
Well, for God's sakes, they should already see it.
Yeah, if you're the 3 people that haven't seen Dark Knight, sorry. So anyway,
if you haven't seen that show, what are you doing watching this one?
Yeah, exactly. Stop, see Dark Knight, come back.
Exactly.
It was on TNT last night, by the way.
Dark Knight's already on TV?
Yeah, it was the network premiere last night on TNT.
Didn't realize.
Well, I would flip over there during commercials.
Okay.
When the Pittsburgh Jets game kept getting boring, I'd flip over there for a few seconds.
By the way, we
to
shoot
watch
these.
Heath Ledger.
We shoot these. We're trying to shoot these 2 at a time. So if that seems real dated, it's because we shot this anyway.
Yeah,
you get the idea.
Well, we've told them before. Hey, these things are shot sometimes out of sequence. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So just chill. Anyway, whatever my original point was on all that, but anyway, I think Anne Hathaway will do a fine job, and she'll probably be the new love interest, and it's probably ill-fated, and probably won't last beyond the 3rd movie.
I would assume.
Yeah, I would assume.
I hope they wrapped up at 3. To be honest with you.
Well, that's what they say, but then Christian Bale says he's willing to do a 4th if Nolan's involved. So we'll see.
Well, that's all well and good. I like trilogies. I like nice, neat trilogies.
Right.
Like Pirates of the Caribbean screwed that all up, and Spider-Man screwed it all up, and I like the old days from the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
You did 3, that is it. You did 3.
Well, it's like everyone's kind of like wants to go for the number 4 now. I don't know how that got started. Everyone wants to break the trilogy model, but the trilogy model works. I mean, you look at Spider-Man, and that 3rd one, if that was the 2nd one, you could forgive a lot. Go, well, okay, it's the darker one.
Right.
Things are supposed to be kind of a lot of loose ends. You could kind of overlook a lot of that. Even Matrix Reloaded, that's the kind of, it's darker, it's kind of uneven, but it's the 2nd chapter. You forgive it.
Yeah.
But then when you follow up with Matrix 3, and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You can't... Hell, there's an hour where you don't even see Neo, Trinity, and Morpheus. They're like not even in the picture.
Well,
it's ridiculous.
The 3rd Matrix, the 3rd Spider-Man, the 3rd Pirates, they all made the same fundamental flaw.
Right.
That they were the darkest of
yeah,
all of
you
their
never
series.
want to end your...
They ended them all on down note.
Yeah, you don't do that.
I don't get it, but they did.
I mean, unless you're doing, Hamlet by Shakespeare in 3 movies,
which I know
you're not going to get away with it.
Probably some guy who studies this stuff and has the kind of time to do that will look back and say, well, those movies came out in the mid 2000s, and we were deep in Bushism, and we were deep in 2 wars, and we were just so pessimistic and blah, 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 blah. But they'll probably attribute to the culture, the climate of
we weren't
the country.
asking for that stuff. You ask any film goer, no one likes those movies. That was if they say that's what people wanted.
This is a reflection of the social climate.
That was totally,
which would be bull.
The filmmakers doing that. Yeah. That was self-imposed. We weren't asking for. Yeah. We were actually looking for the escapism, and they didn't deliver. And that's why we're pissed off.
And that's why those movies failed.
Yeah.
And that's because storytelling is more universal. I could very get preachy on this, but storytelling is a universal thing.
Right.
And if you study it through all kinds of different cultures and time periods, it's completely universal. I mean, Joseph Campbell made a freaking living talking about this.
Yeah, and myths and what
power of myths and all that stuff.
Sure.
So when you stray from those basic principles, the results usually are not good.
Right.
Because there's some basic principles to storytelling, and they've drifted from them, and they're the worst. Those are 3 miserable series because they ruined them. And the 3rd movie ruined them.
Well, and how many of these 3rd films that we're talking
X-Men
about?
3 did the same thing, by the way.
Right.
I want to leave it out. Botched it all up. Yeah. And Superman Returns just thought they'd just do it for the first one. Let's just start the movie. Let's off wrong.
Ain't that the truth? These 3rd films, it's like they make this mistake that they're trying to be dark, and you wonder how rusty these things are too. They are guilty of taking the action out of the hands of the protagonists.
Yeah.
That is a no-no.
Yeah.
We don't care what's going over here.
The prequels did the same thing too. That's another series that did. The
Right.
prequels did the
They
same
did
thing.
that. Spider-Man 3, in the end...
That's 5 series we
The
did that in
actions-
the 2000s.
Yeah. It's out of his hands. He has to go to whatever... Not the Green Goblin, but whatever he was. The James Franco character.
Yeah.
He has to go to his friend and say, I need your help.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what you want. It's like, wait a minute. You're Spider-Man. You're the hero. What are you going asking for help for? I mean, that's crap.
Right.
You go a mano and kick Sandman's ass. That's what you want.
I mean, look at Luke Skywalker in the original trilogy. He goes in by his own. He says people offer to help. He's like, nope, I got to do some on my own. See ya.
Yeah, I got to take care of this.
Obi-Wan and Yoda are both like, no, stop. Nope. He's like, nope, I got to go take care of it.
It's like, but they're like, but that's an entire space station. He's like, I got it. And they're like, oh, okay. And, you know.
Yeah. Because it put the act, like you said, basic storytelling 101, puts the action in the protagonist's hands.
That's where you want it. And then you have the whole thing with the machines invading Zion in the Matrix 3. Well, you don't even see. I mean, you got basically they reduced Morpheus to a co-pilot.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting there, and he like tells her like, "Oh well, we got one in your blind side." I mean, that's what he's reduced to for about 30 minutes of that movie. You know, oh, and you got another machine on your tail.
I mean, even Lando in the third.
Oh my God!
Even Lando in Return of the Jedi was at least piloting the Millennium Falcon.
Exactly. It's like, well,
if you're going to reduce him to Lando, at least making the damn pilot.
It's like, do you not understand that was the trifecta there? You know, you've established that Neo and Trinity and Morpheus are the heroes. And for an hour, they're like totally, and all these anonymous people like defending. I don't mind you going back to see how the war's going in Zion and checking in on them maybe a minute at a time and then go back to the action. Right. That would have been fine, and they would have got away with that. But when you totally like, okay, let's see the machines invade Zion, and you're watching this going, I could care less. I don't know any of these people.
Because you had no connection.
I have no connection.
Yeah. That's fun, amazing. All 5 of those series. The X-Men, Spider-Man, Pirates, Star Wars prequels.
Right.
What was the other one we mentioned?
You said Pirates?
Yeah. Pirates, Spider, X-Men, Star Wars prequels, and Matrix. All 5 of those series did the same thing. Took action out of their heroes' hands.
Yeah.
Ended the third one's on down notes. It just totally destroyed the series. All of them.
Well, and it does, to bring this back to your initial point, was this desire by the filmmaker saying, well, it was the culture and the pessimism of the Bush years and all that. And you're like, if you were reflecting anything, if they were feeling like matters were out of their hands, maybe that seeped through. I think that's it could be considered a stretch, but that's really the only thing, if we're going to go have that conversation. I mean, I could see where they would get there, but what a big faux pas that is as far as telling stories. We don't care. I mean, it's like having a movie about Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman's not in it.
Yeah.
That's what you feel like. It's like, well, where was Wonder Woman? Oh, well, she was in the credits. Well, you feel cheated. It's like, well, I bought the ticket thinking I was going to get,
Right.
It's that kind of thing.
Well, I'm not going to say that movies shouldn't reflect social culture or things like that. I think they should. But there's a way to do it. There's a way not to do it.
And that's what I'm saying.
And all 5 of those
You don't
series,
want to break a storytelling rule, though, to do it.
All 5 of those series chose the wrong way to do it.
Right.
Maybe the 2000s were a depressing time. I don't know. We're too close to it still to really examine.
Yeah, right.
Personally, I have my own personal issues I was dealing with, like everybody else does at any given moment.
Sure.
But, the events of our country it wasn't a result of the events of our country. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't really relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I'm different politically than most people. Whoever's president doesn't really affect me on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I'm not that type of person. We've had that discussion many times.
Sure.
As where there's other people, it's like, if it's not an ultra liberal or ultra conservative in there on their side, then they're miserable. And I've never been that way.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
talking about being a partisan, someone that has to be this way.
So the social climate to me shouldn't have that. My point is, shouldn't have that much of a bearing on the movie. It should be somewhat of a reflection, but you still don't change fundamental principles of telling stories. Which is where they went away.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I'm glad you added that, because that's what I'm saying is, while those cultural influences may have had an impact, you don't want to break a storytelling rule to get there. I mean,
exactly.
You can still have those influences. For example, that movie with Tommy Lee Jones called In the Valley of Allah. It's a really good movie, and it obviously has a political point of view.
Right.
But it's still a good story, and you can still accept whether you agree or not. You can still enjoy it, and it has it doesn't like invent the wheel storytelling wise.
Right.
Reinvent the wheel. So you can watch a movie like that and totally feel satisfied, or at least appreciate what they were trying to do.
Right. Right. Now, you had a rant you wanted to go on.
Oh, quick rant.
All right.
Are
we changing subjects, or what are we on the same subject?
No, it's different.
Oh, changing gears.
This is more lighthearted.
All right, more lighthearted.
This is I think the show needs lighthearted.
I think at this point is when the little thing comes up. Mark's rants. There's like some graphics.
Yeah.
We'll have to work on those graphics.
I was actually kind of hoping like we could rent the old men from the Muppet Show on the balcony. I think that would be awesome.
Old men were awesome.
Yeah, that was the best part of the show.
Yeah.
I recently, not that long ago, watched Megamind.
All right. Will Ferrell.
And my rant involved this movie is guilty of what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Big time. There are certain songs that you hear so much in movies that when they come on in a movie, you zone out because you've heard the song so much. And it's overplayed.
Who let the dogs out?
You literally you just check out.
It doesn't register anymore
because they've overdone it. And for example, Megamind, it has Highway to Hell, AC/DC, and Back in Black by AC/DC.
Both overdone.
I like AC/DC. Don't think I'm poo-pooing on them. I'm not. I'm just saying that.
But they're overdone.
They're overdone, and you hear them all the time in films. I think even Welcome to the Jungle and Bad to the Bone, those were also overdone, and in Megamind. So Megamind was just trying to include every overused rock song you've ever heard. Every cliche bad boy song. And that's why I was like, it's like this movie lacks energy, and you're trying to make up for it by using these well-known songs. And I was so irritated with this. As I'm watching this, I was like, I know what you're doing. I'm not stupid. I get what you're trying to do, but could you at least have a little imagination and found some energetic music that we haven't heard 15 million times? Because how many times have we seen movies that had Sweet Home Alabama by Leonard Skinner?
Oh God, yeah.
How many times have we heard Fly Like an Eagle by Steve Miller Band, or Taking Care of Business by Bachman Turner Overdrive? Umpteen million times we've heard.
Well, there's not a single dog movie that's come out that doesn't have Who Let the Dog Out. Who Let the Dog Out?
Right.
Ever since that song has been around, every dog movie has that song at some point.
And before that song came out, it was Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog.
Oh, like
Elvis. Yeah, every time you turned around, if it was Beethoven, and you see the commercial, even the trailer, ain't nothing but or Benji or whatever.
That song that Bow Wow Wow Yippee Yo Yippee Yay Bow Wow Yippee Yo, whatever song that is.
Right. Yeah.
It would be that one too.
And you hear these songs and you check out.
Right.
You Can't Touch This. How many comedies play that? All the time.
They all do.
I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor. That's that disco song. If I hear that song in another comedy, drama, whatever, I'm going to explode.
Another one's getting used like that is It's Raining Men. It's Raining Men
now. It's used all the time.
So, what's the solution?
Thank you for saying that.
Reform?
No.
Laws, taxes.
I'm glad you said that because
tariffs.
You look at Tarantino.
Yes.
Look at Tarantino. He finds music that people, he kind of unearths these old tunes that are obscure, but
he just finds it, yeah.
and or he just simply finds it, and he uses it very selectively and deliberately to fit the mood that he's trying to do in that scene. And even the way he edits and cuts things, it fits really perfectly. And then those songs, of course, we hear them later on whenever, if the song ends up, becoming popular, you'll end up hearing, oh yeah, that's that song from Pulp Fiction, or that's that song from Kill Bill Volume 1.
Yeah, that one song from Kill Bill is used all the time now. Nobody ever heard of it until he used it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's from this Japanese artist, this rock star over there, and he hears it, and he uses it for Kill Bill Volume 1, and you can't, like last night during the football game. Again, we're dating ourselves, but they had it playing during one of those segments, and I'm just like, yeah, okay. But you can at least, I can deal with that because in his next movie, he's going to found another 12 songs that you've never heard or obscure. Why can't more people do like that and do like Kubrick? Kubrick did that too, where he found pieces of music.
Interesting.
And I would like to see that more. Just be a little more imaginative. That's what I'm asking for.
Well, that goes back to a fundamental problem with movies right now, and it might even correlate back to what we were talking about with those franchises that screwed themselves up.
Yeah.
We sat here and talked about those franchises like they made those decisions based on social climate. I also could take the point of view that they did it for financial reasons, to extend them to a fourth movie and make more money. The reason why they didn't wrap everything up in Spider-Man 3, Pirates 3, etc. was so there could be a 4.
Right.
So that's actually from a completely 180-degree different direction. If they did those choices from a point of view of like a social climate kind of thing or a political thing, it would at least involves some sort of a moral choice, even if you disagree with it. You could make the argument they really made these on commercial, greedy choices to extend the life of these franchises into fourth movies to make more money.
Okay.
And my point is, the reason they use these songs is because our ears are trained to them by now. Our ears are trained to Back in Black. As soon as you hear Highway to Hell or Back in Black, bad boyness,
right,
edginess,
attitude.
It conveys,
even if it's mock attitude, but
even if it's mock,
it
conveys that instantly because we've been trained that way. So from a commercial point of view, they use those because it works. It's not going to fail. It's guaranteed not to fail. It might not blow you out of the water, but it won't fail.
Right.
And that's the reason they use those songs. Tarantino takes some chances with it. He takes some chances with his music.
Oh, big time.
And for every 2 songs of his on a soundtrack we love, there's that one where like, that sucked. Where did he even come up with that?
Right.
So he takes chances, and it's risk reward. He does succeed, and he does fail as well. They're not willing to take that chance. So they use, you're a big Journey fan.
Right.
Oh my God, they use Don't Stop Believing now, like on everything.
Yeah, that's getting to be where, even though I'm a Journey fan, I'm like, okay, we need to kind of stop that now.
Yeah, you're starting to kind of piss me off.
Yeah, it's
you're
like, okay.
overdoing it.
And it's never in a situation.
It's never that positive.
Yeah, it's always like in a comedy.
Corny, cheesy.
Or it's done, like you said, in something very dark, and you're just like,
yeah.
Why can't it be like Anthemic? But they've kind of ruined it for me. It's like just don't use it at all now. Move on.
Well, but I we've had this conversation before, not on the show, but just Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
I like Elvis. I really do.
Great.
I'm not the big velvet painting kind of Elvis fan. I have been to Graceland. It's a tremendous experience to go to Graceland. Mm-hmm. I recommend it highly for anybody to go. I'm not that big an Elvis fan, and I broke down in tears at his grave. I mean, it's an emotional experience.
Right.
If you go through the house and you see the way he lived, and the way they recreate it is brilliant, and you see this whole family is right there. in the family plot, and you
Yeah.
read, if you actually take the time to read the tombstones, God, is an emotional experience. But
Yeah.
as I'm a passive fan of his. Problem is, they've used his music so much in commercials and things, you don't even hear his voice anymore.
Right.
And I remember one day going down the road, listening to a car, and they played an Elvis song I hadn't heard forever, and I listened to it just as a song, and I was like, God, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
God, he had a great voice. This is a great song. But I had to get away from the commercialism to appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what kind of sucks about the success of these songs. Is, a successful song? No, let's use the shit. Sorry, but let's use the crap out of it,
Right.
until it's meaningless. And that's
that's kind of part of it too. I'm kind of mourning that too. Is that these songs that are really good and they just kind of pound it into you to where, well, like for example, and this is more of a comedy misusage of it, but that song "True" by Spandau Ballet. Mm-hmm. I'm totally well aware that it's from the early 80s. Mm-hmm. And early 80s is subject to all kind of ridicule or whatever. But it does annoy me that song keeps getting used in these comedies, and it's done in such a way it's like they're mocking it and whatever romantic situation. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't care that you think it's corny, but that is a serious love song. Yeah. It's a serious ballad, and it's a great song. I could get by if it was done once or twice even, but it's used in comedy situations all the time, and I'm really bothered by that. Yeah. It's like y'all, it's every bit of being as serious as "Faithfully" by Journey, or name any other power ballad that you think that's just really serious and good. What's that one by Extreme that I like so much?
What? More Than Words?
More Than Words. Those are serious songs,
Well, the thing with the 80s is we've gone through a phase now where people look back on it, and I don't know how else to put this, but to put it bluntly, they think everything was gay from it.
Right.
They've revisionist the 80s.
Lame and gay, yeah.
Well, I mean, like gay, like not in like the lame.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying lame and I understand.
I mean, when I say gay, I mean I don't mean like that's gay, like it's dumb. I mean like no, they really say that it was homosexual.
Sure.
And it's like, well, I know, homosexual artists really took off in the 80s. I mean, I get that. That's undeniable.
That's true.
That's a fact. That's
true.
Undeniable. But not everything was gay in the 80s. And there's sort of this revisionist history right now of the 80s that everything was gay. It's like, it was a rising force or whatever amongst the artists, but it wasn't as... Not everything was gay.
Not everything was gay. No.
Yes, Culture Club was gay. Well, yes, Wham was gay.
And that whole glam look, was kind of started, kind of evoking that kind of gay culture. I get that as well. Yeah. But my argument would be, it's like, so we should not like Freddie Mercury and Queen because, I mean, so they suck because, I mean, it's like, where does this stop? How far are we willing to go with this? It's like,
well, I'm not saying...
So Queen's not one of the great rock bands of all time because there was some gay stuff, that some of the members were gay. I mean, where does this stop?
Well, I mean, I'm not condemning anybody.
Oh, I know. I'm just taking the argument, the one's next step. Yeah.
Well, I know. Yeah, I get it. I'm not condemning anybody's sexuality or anything like that. I mean, I'm the last person who's the judge of the universe. But anyway, my thing is, what bothers me about it is the revisionist part of it. Because I was there. Yeah. Not everything was gay.
Right.
A lot of it might have been, but if it was more than a third, I'd be shocked. Yeah. In actuality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, but the thing is it's almost like the ones who are making fun of, they're the ones who are being homophobic because they're like, oh, that was dumb, that was gay. It's like, no, y'all are being homophobic. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean,
but
there's a lot of the styles and looks, I mean, nowadays it's been kind of that way for a while, where the short-haired look. I mean, you look at Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I'd use a movie reference, but for now, let's just go with the football reference. Tom Brady, all season, he grew his hair out long, and he just kept getting made fun of. And I thought, well, apparently right now, in terms of social norms, guys, you don't wear your hair long because you're going to get called gay. I mean, that's...
Well, I don't think
or sissy or whatever. I mean, it was just people kept, oh, hey, look at the pretty boy. That was what he had to hear all season. And I'm like, well, what's the next step from calling somebody a pretty boy? Well, you know where this goes. It's just...
Yeah. I think the thing with him was, I think long hair in general is not the style. I mean, right now.
Right. I'm just saying, though, I'm just using that to say that some of these things still exist.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then the people still to kind of like, oh, well, that's gay. You know, and it was like, hey, that was just a style. You can still kind of make fun of it. I mean, that's fine. You know.
I think with Brady, because I have to admit, I made fun of him too.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I never called him gay. My thing was it was just so. He's almost like a whole other category.
But
it's like.
But we're not saying that any. But see, to use what we're talking about, we're not saying any football player with long hair is doing something gay or all pretty boys. Because then, like Clay Matthews for the Packers, you'll see him in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He's got long hair, but I'm like,
he's like, actually, he's very ultra macho.
So there's this very much a guilty by association thing that's going on with 80s. That's what I'm trying to get to.
I see your point. Okay.
That's where I'm trying to get to, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have the same feelings. We're just getting there a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
I bemoan the ridicule of the 80s just because they're revising it incorrectly.
Yeah.
My point is, in summary, not everything was gay. It's just you're looking back on it in a totally incorrect light.
Yeah.
Adam Ant had that same look. He wasn't gay.
No, not at all. Yeah.
In fact, I think he was probably the exact opposite. I think he was probably a hound dog, and lots of guys were that way in the 80s. It's just that was the look.
That was the look.
But to Tom Brady, I gotta say this one thing about Tom Brady.
All right.
I think he asked for that criticism because when you take into account the Super Bowl rings, and they're in New England, for God's sakes, up there in Boston,
right?
And it's got sort of that they all think they're special up there.
they were ticking off everybody in Boston. So
they know what I'm talking about. They all think it's we're like they're.
Hey, they know they're in the top 10 rudest cities in the U.S. in that poll. They were number 6, Boston.
I'm talking about not just Boston. I'm talking about all of New England.
Yeah.
Well, we're the original 13 colonies. We're the original. This is where America was born. They had that whole air about them.
Congratulations.
Exactly. And then you throw on top of that the Super Bowl rings. You throw on top of that he's done. I mean, all the advertising. Peyton Manning, he does commercials. He makes fun of himself. As much as I despise Peyton Manning, he does self-deprecate.
Yeah.
Tom Brady will have none of it. He's always like really handsome and macho and these sexy poses for these colognes.
Sure.
And he marries the Victoria's Secret model.
Yeah.
And then you see him like when he's like the candid shots on town. He's got the little hat and the man purse. And you add all of that together, and then he grows the hair long. He's asking to be made fun of. He's asking me to be made fun of. It's like he thinks he's John F. Kennedy or something. It's like he's the Camelot of football, and that's what pisses me off.
Yeah.
All right, that makes no sense. I'm sure to anybody.
Well, I'm sure there's endorsement deals and all that he's thinking of too. But anyway, now that we've ticked off New England and
hey. We defended gays, though. By God,
yeah, we did.
If there's any segment of the population that we've backed up, it was
like if I go, man, that was really gay. Well, so Careless Whisper, still a good song. It's corny.
Yeah, but
I still like it.
Thing was Wham though.
Oh,
They call it gay.
Go-Go.
They call it Wham gay now. But back then,
Oh man.
oh my God, was the girls going crazy?
Yeah,
with that.
remember when the girls saw the what was the Faith video? Was that the one that really got them going? And Father Figure, those two?
Well, that was George Michael by himself. It wasn't Wham.
Yeah, well, when he went solo, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
That really just took him to even another level of.
Yeah, and that's my point. That comes back to my point. That's revising history because at the time that was like ultra. That was like
He was as mainstream as anybody.
yes. It's just only now that they're revising history.
I mean, he was just as big as Justin Timberlake is now.
He was huge,
or Eminem,
if not bigger.
If not bigger, so.
Huge. All right, I have no idea where this show is going.
Okay, well, quickly, because we can do this one real quick.
All right.
Quickly, to continue our top 25 bizarre moments. The next one on number 22 is Errol Flynn's reputation as a serial womanizer.
This fits in.
And this fits in what we were doing kind of last episode.
What fits in with this one? We're talking about.
Sure. Well, basically, if you're not familiar, in 1942, he got accused of basically statutory rape with these underage girls, and so he had to stand trial. And out of that trial, he was acquitted. But from that, his reputation as a womanizer, kind of like we're talking about Russell Crowe, how it just increased his. His also increased as a womanizer, and the phrase "in like Flynn," that's where it started. Or at least became popular. What's interesting is, last episode we were talking about people.
That might be the dirtiest thing I've ever heard in my life. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, that's but it's true.
I'm in like Flynn. She's 16.
But that's how it started. You're
That's
absolutely
horrible.
I know.
All right, go ahead.
So isn't that bizarre? That's bizarre.
That's just. I need a shower now.
But it's also bizarre in that to tie it with last week's episode. Was I was talking about our stars or celebrities that do something and that disappoint us or they break their persona.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a guy who we want to think was always perfect off stage. And I'll be honest, I'm still an Errol Flynn fan. Mm-hmm. I'm disappointed that happened. Him going, well, the girls didn't tell me what their age was. I mean, in 2011. That excuse really not going to get you very far.
Yeah.
Ask old Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
And other celebrities that kind of. But I understand there's the whole argument that some of these guys get targeted. I get that,
right. But
it's still bizarre that out of that court case, he kind of comes off after he's acquitted. He kind of gets a new brand, if you will. And the phrase "in like Flynn," that's where it came from.
Wow.
And it's bizarre. All right.
That is very, very strange. All right, video pick of the week.
I told you we could do that one fast. All right, video pick of the week.
That was horrible. That's the worst. I'm sorry.
It's true.
I'm sorry, folks.
It's true. All right. I want to recommend The Game. It's from 1997. It was a thriller from David Fincher, the director, and starred Michael Douglas. Michael Douglas lately has been in the news a lot lately that he's licked his battle with cancer. So,
yes.
great, and just I really admire Michael Douglas. So very excited about that. And check out a movie that may have gotten overlooked in the late 90s. He kind of went into a little bit of a slide career-wise. But give The Game a chance. It's a really good thriller. He's a big, wealthy businessman that gets convinced to break his mundane life by going on this... It's kind of billed as this kind of a retreat. But everything goes all chaotic. And he has to kind of fight to get his life back. So it's very good. Check it out.
All right. And since we talked about the 80s, I'm sitting here thinking of 80s movies that are kind of about the 80s and not just like take place in the 80s or made in. And probably the one that keeps coming to my mind is Boogie Nights.
Ah, yeah.
And that movie I mean, I was a little kid in the 80s. Well, not a little kid. Well, yeah, I was a little kid. And my adolescence was mostly spent in the 80s. So my point of view of the 80s was mostly, from a child would be. And it was mostly, Star Wars, Ronald Reagan,
Spielberg
movies. So I came from that point of view of the 80s. But that movie was more about the sort of, I guess, the party life of the 80s and how sort of the free love of the 70s caught up with everybody in the 80s.
Oh, I get where you're going.
And drugs, the free lifestyle of drugs sort of caught up everybody.
The cost of lifestyle.
They sort of, the sins of the 70s kind of got paid for in the 80s.
Yeah.
In the context of the movie Boogie Nights.
Sure.
And that's a great movie to watch just because the key thing about that movie is it finds a sense, and that's what Anderson has done in his movies, P.T. Anderson. And he tries to find family outside of the normal family construct. And everybody, the porn stars in this movie sort of had their own family.
Right.
With the family hierarchy in it.
Yeah.
And when they stayed within that family construct, everything was fine and safe. Even in the context of porn.
Right.
And he did the same thing with There Will Be Blood, where you have this non-traditional family sort of construct set up with him and the orphan boy and the oil, all the drillers and everything. And,
sure.
And when that construct got varied and people dissociated from it, that's when things got off base. Mm-hmm. Like the brother who comes in, who's not really the brother, and things like that. And so P.T. Anderson has these themes that he runs. In Magnolia, he did the similar things in Magnolia. So he constructs movies around family, like interesting, unique family constructs.
Yeah.
And Boogie Nights, is probably my second favorite P.T. Anderson film. So check that one out.
Yeah, that's a great one too.
Right. Quote of the week.
Quote of the week. Last week's, you are, all of you, amateurs. And international affairs should never be run by gentlemen amateurs. Now, that's from The Remains of the Day. And Christopher Reeve says it to a room full of well-meaning politicians. And I love that. Because every election day, I like to quote that line.
Yeah.
And that's as much as you're getting out of me on politics. All right.
Yeah, and that was a very American moment in a British movie. That was cool.
Yeah. All right. This week's quote of the week is real short, but it's fun. And should be, well, it might be a challenge. Here we go. What number would you like? Here we go. One more time. What number would you like?
Don't know this one. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, cool. So to guess that one, go to our Facebook wall, Incredible Hoax on Facebook, or email us at hope@redseatelevision.com. That's hope@redseatelevision.com. We're the 80s. We'll always reign supreme.
And Errol Flynn.
Errol Flynn.
Despite
the
being,
weird story you told.
having, yeah. Anyway.
With the sad taste with all of our mouths. And with that, I bid you adieu.
See ya. Please come back, everybody. Especially you, New England.
Oh, yeah. We have to just say that our dad is from the North, so we kind of have a pass on making fun of Yankees, don't we?
Well, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
We'll just go with a little bit.
Well,
all right,
yeah.
see ya.
West Virginia.